Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to today's atrocity. I'm absolutely fuming today, and I again, as usual, because I'm not able to decide really. I don't know why this always happens with me, but whenever it comes to sharing something, that might be personal or that might be something that will help me feel better. There is always this, I don't know, alter ego of mine which always pulls me back. I don't really know if today's broadcast will be sarcastic, funny, or enlightening, or motivational, or I don't know what I'm trying to achieve here. But because I'm absolutely fuming and I don't really have any real place to let out my feelings. So I'm gonna do this on the with the intention of putting this out as a broadcast because that kind of is a motivation for me to continue to keep yapping for an hour. Otherwise, I won't do so. So it's it's the kind of treatment that I get everywhere, and can't say everywhere as such, but places where it really matters to. I'm gonna try to keep this as discreet as possible by sharing what I want to share and without sharing too much of details. Because again, I am I am even though some people might hurt me, I still want to make sure because I'm doing this on a public platform and there is still a chance that someone might get to hear this. So if I mention those people and I mention them, then they might face some criticism, even though there is absolutely no consideration when it comes to me, and whenever there is any pressure situation or anything of that sort. They don't really care about what I feel, and then they don't really think about how I'm going to react to this. And I absolutely don't have any persona or any sort of consideration when it comes to them. And it's really my fault, to be honest. How is it my fault? Because there are people around me, who have been through a lot in their past. And I obviously, because I'm empathetic, whatever is the word, you get the point. Empathy, because I have empathy. I naturally, correlate with them. I'm easily able to put myself into other shoes, and if someone faces any problem, I try to make it my own personal mission to get it rid from get that done, or whatever, get their lives rid of that problem. Yeah, I think that's a better one. So that's really what I do, and that's really a problem. I don't know if that's a problem or if that's something else, but that's really my behavior. So if I see anything wrong anywhere, and even though absolutely no one has asked me to, take that up and solve it, I'll still obviously take it up and solve it. And then, obviously, because, I solved it, I tried to give a solution on that situation. Initially, in my early days, I used to feel that, the person in front will be thankful and he'll come out and acknowledge my efforts and all that. And I used to feel all that, but with time, as the self-worthiness of mine has eventually died and now it's none, I don't expect anything But then I still think that okay, I myself forgot I've done anything. I myself don't expect, or rather, I nowadays now I expect that they won't come up front and thank me for whatever I've done and all that and all that. But then still something that really gets me even today, and I'm trying to work on it, is partiality. When there are I'm all over the place, I know, but it doesn't really matter. I'm always all over the place. If there was a mic to my thoughts, I could literally live stream 24/7, because my brain never goes quiet, and I always keep on thinking about something. And I somehow, in my mental image is that of a court of law, where I myself am the judge, I myself am the culprit, I myself am the victim, I myself am the and I myself am the judicial authority on both the ends, and I myself am the one who's going to throw myself into jail for that, and then I myself will release. You get the point. So it's really all those personalities, and I'm really good at it. I'm really good at analyzing a situation and then changing myself according to that situation, and then eventually becoming slightly better, or not slightly better, forming an algorithm in my mind where whenever anything of that sort takes place, I'll expect that this is going to happen, and then when that happens I will stay calm. So there's that. So the point that I was trying to make is that I'm surrounded by people, or let's not surrounded by people. I myself, yeah, that can be a better thing to do, right? Instead of mentioning others, I can simply put forward what I do. So yeah. So if I see someone in trouble, if I see someone who has a traumatic, who has had some kind of trauma, depending upon the type of influence I have on that person's life, I will obviously try to solve it, resolve it, or provide some sort of a solution to that solution to that situation, even though it's not really my job to do it, and it's not really my point. Stand. Stand. And that's what I really do, and that's I myself consider myself to be some kind of a enlightened person, and I don't know what I really think of myself, to be honest, but I have this mental image of myself in my own mind, where I feel that I should be the one-stop solution for most of the problems. And that again is the because that is really my mindset, and that is really how I feel and how I think and how I operate on a daily basis, that eventually leads to much more problems for me. It's really an endless loop. I myself have trapped myself in this loop, and there is no coming out. So what I do is, I see that someone is in some sort of. I might have repeated this 10 times now, but who cares? As is, no one is listening to this broadcast, and I myself, I'm the only one person who's adding any sort of views to the same. Anyways, getting back to the point. So what I really do is, I will, see any person who's in some sort of trouble, and I'll obviously think of a way where I can help him, even though that particular person has not asked me to help them in any way, shape, or form, or hasn't even been vulnerable in front of me, or forget being vulnerable, doesn't even consider to me, doesn't even consider that they have any sort of a personal relation in between us so that I could go. This is this is really my fault. I am the only one to blame, and that's why all of those things are done. But anyways, so what I'll do something to solve that problem. And as I said initially, I used to feel that they'll be thankful for whatever I'm doing, but nowadays I at least expect that I don't even. But nowadays I've due to myself to expect disappointment. It really credit to I think Zendaya's dialogue in some Spider-Man movie. Expect disappointment, and you won't be disappointed. So there's that. So, and how my life is. I'll let you know. See, because I form this empathetic environment. I form this nourishing environment, and I form this environment where I encourage people to be vulnerable around me. I encourage people to let their feelings out in front of me, and I encourage. I really try to provide a nourishing and a positive environment. So what really happens is, if something has, obviously, because people can't express their emotions properly, and obviously they can't get their things aligned, and they are really disturbed by a lot of things. But there's this fear factor, or there's this intimate. Like for example, there are two people, okay, and I am the third person. So I am in good terms with person two. I've really or yeah, yeah. Or let's say I am in good terms with all three people, person one and person two. So person two does something to person one does something to person two, but there is some intimidation factor or some fear factor between them, which doesn't allow them to speak directly or express their emotions directly to each other, and actually tell where the other person has gone wrong. And for example, let's say person one says something to person two, and then person two didn't really like it, but person two fears that person one will do something. So that's why person two doesn't really say anything to the person one. But because I am the guy who has decided to be the I don't know what is that word, the guardian angel, or in the local language, the Masiha of all these people. What happens is, these person one and person two both will let out their things in front of me in a way which I don't really like, and they really let it out in a way which they would have done to each other when they really did those things which hurt themselves. That really is my life. That is really how the human brain functions, to be honest. I can't even complain at this point. But that is how the human brain functions. The human brain will obviously, I don't know, the human brain, and that is really what happens with me as well. I keep things, I've become aware about this habit of mine, so I managed to filter out things, or I managed to communicate clearly that, okay, I'm not in a very good mood. So, or even if I was not in a really good mood, what I can say, I wasn't in a really good mood, and I communicate. I apologize, basically that's what I'm trying to say. Anyways, so because I have decided to be the one-stop solution, even though no one has asked me. So people really let out their feelings in front of me, or really react to me the way they would have reacted in that situation, and that's really not any corporate relations, and that might be one of the reasons why I enjoy being in the office, or enjoy being in a professional scenario much more than a personal scenario, because of the professional guidelines and all those things. People don't really say a lot of things to me, and they are respectful, and they don't let their emotions out. Even though, now here's the contradictory part. Okay, here's the wonderful part. Even though, what will happen now is, because there is this corporate relation in the office, obviously, and those people are acting respectfully and all that. That is where I'll try to, get into their personal lives and try to form a personal relation, and then again establish a cycle there where they'll continue to hurt me, and then the cycle continues. So, as I rightfully said, I'm really at fault here. I'm really the one to blame. I should have simply focused on myself, and I should really focus on myself, and I should really think of myself and do things which are good to me, and shouldn't care about what others will think, and how others will feel, and how this action might end up hurting them. And I should stop really, be this embodiment of sacrifice and all those things. But let's face it, I am not a person who takes himself seriously. I am basically, I don't even care. I'm basically a bitch. I was trying to figure out another way to put this out, but I couldn't. So I am a bitch, and I can't really, I don't take myself seriously, and obviously something has happened this morning, and instead of letting my feelings out in front of the people, where I'm not even gonna. No, okay, okay, okay. Um, See, that's the speed at which I think, I was gonna lose my cool, and I was gonna rant about a topic, but then obviously the whatever is there inside me that immediately formulated what will happen if I do so, and the consequences are obviously far more worse, and then I obviously stopped myself. So, because while you're generating this environment, where people constantly let things out, and people, people really share their feelings. And for you to enable that, what you have to do is you have to, always cater to the person in front, not really do or not really put forth how you feel, or put forth your opinions, or basically you have to generate an environment where they have to feel that they are valued and that they should let things out. And what that does is, if you constantly try to do that, what that does is, the person in front will end up thinking that, this particular relationship is for me for only for me to let things out. I don't need to do anything to cater the person who's doing anything to me. And that's really the beauty of that's really the way the human brain thinks. Let's face it, we all are disturbed souls. We all are people who, for some reason or the other, some relations might be corporate, some relations might be from fear or whatever. We all are in some sort of relations where even if the person in front does something which is really demeaning to us, we can't really expect that person, because that person in some way or the other has won upon us. So we are constantly, obviously, because this has hurt us, so some of us will still manage to, what you can say, will still manage to not do things, or will still manage to, shove it deep down. But then again, it is something that you don't really want to keep to yourself. So what you do is, whichever relation of yours allows you to be yourself, and then provides a safe spot or safe environment for you to express yourself and be yourself. That is the spot where you let out everything. And if that and what will really happen is, let's say you have a girlfriend, okay, and traffic police is standing here, so I'll go straight. And okay, what is this? Can I go from? What is this? Why are people standing there? Oh, I got distracted again. Anyways, what was I saying? What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Yeah. So let's say you have your girlfriend, okay, and you're in the office, and your boss has said something to you that you didn't really like, and it really hurt your feelings. But obviously, because he's your boss, you cannot confront him for hurting your feelings and all that. And even if you do, he'll just end up doing things which are worse. So what you do is, instead of doing that, letting things out, and actually confronting your boss, what you will do is you will shove those things deep down, and then there is and then your girlfriend will come to you, and she'll say something, or boyfriend, girlfriend or boyfriend, mother, father, whoever is there, they'll come to you, and they'll do something which resembles, and let's say you are that aware that you won't what you can say, you are that aware that you won't you know that, okay, this is she's a different person, and my boss is a different person, and my boss has done that. This is not the my girlfriend's fault, so I'm not gonna let out things on her, and I'm gonna stay calm and all that. But then your girlfriend happens to do something which was which was 1% or 0.01% or even lesser. Basically, it was similar, but definitely not as much to what your boss did this morning. And then you somehow correlate it with what your boss had done, and then you let things. You just lash out on her. You just shout at her, and you are basically shouting at your boss. You are basically letting things out that you would have said at that time, but you don't realize that in that moment, and you end up doing other things. So that's really what happens most of the times. So, and you can't really do anything about it, and that's why this cycle has to continue. And I obviously wanted to stop this cycle for myself, since it is about lashing out, it is about putting forth your feelings, and it is about um, having a lighter heart so that you won't lash out in the wrong place. That is entirely the reason why this broadcast exists, or this routine of mine exists, where I record and I upload, and it kind of formulates in my brain that, okay, I have let my feelings out, and I have let out what I feel, and that's it. Because at this point, my brain is wired in such a way that it only cares about letting things out. It doesn't really want anyone to listen. It doesn't really want anyone to give condolences, because as I'm letting out, I'm gonna feel lighter, and then my brain is going to come up with a solution for it. Not that it hasn't already come up with a solution, but then I still feel that there is this need to. Obviously, I don't want to keep anything in my heart, so I'm gonna let it out. So that's that. So basically, what happens with me is that because I've provided this extremely focused environment and extremely done things in such a way that and try to heal people of the things that I myself haven't done in the first place. I should really, focus on creating relations where there will be quality really, and there should be, and I should focus more on relations where obviously I can let things out by myself, listen to the person in front, and all those things. But obviously, I can't even blame, since I'm a spiritual person, I can't really blame God for putting me in such situations. Because again, I also am of the thinking that whatever happens, happens for a reason. And I'm also a firm believer in karma. So then I eventually end up blaming myself, thinking that I too might have done something like this in the past, because of which I am experiencing all this. And obviously, when I calm down, when I am in the heat of moment, I actually cannot figure out things that I've done. But when I calm down, I manage to figure out things that I've done for me to deserve that. So there's that. So yeah, because what happens is because I have created this environment where everyone can be vulnerable in front of me, everyone can let their feelings out to me, and everyone feels that I'm the safe spot to do things. That's why I again have formed relations where most of the times I don't really matter. What I am feeling doesn't really matter. People hardly empathize with me. People hardly do things that will make me feel good, or will yeah, help me feel good, or what you can say, or if I am, or while, or sometimes when they're letting things out, and let's say that I'm in a bad place and something, and yeah, because in the first place they don't really care about what I am thinking or feeling. So that's why what happens is, what happens is, they don't really care. So let's say someone, that happens all the time. Since I am this person who believes in being fair to everyone, because I myself am of the thinking that if something wrong has happened in my life, it is a different situation, and when I am dealing with someone else, they have nothing to do with the situation, and I have managed to get that filter where I will really understand, even if I'm about to lash out, I will understand that I am going to lash out for something that is entirely different, and then I'll manage to calm down. But again, this kind of creates an environment where I value the person in front, and I value the person who I am interacting with, or any relation that I have built. That's why they naturally feel that they can say, do, and act any way they want, and we have zero empathy for what I feel, and cater to my emotions in a very negatively way. And let's say someday I decide that okay, this is whatever they are letting out to me, I don't really deserve that. And let's say, for example, again, person one, person two, and person one, person two have done something to each other, but they didn't say those things to me. They said those things, whatever they felt to each other, but instead they decided to let let things out on me. And let things out on me doesn't mean that, they'll come and they'll talk to me and this all happened and I'm extremely hurt by this and I feel that this is the wrong thing. That's not what happens. Obviously that's not what happens. What happens is, as I mentioned, um, what happens is, if I happen to do something which was in line with what, let's say I'm interacting with person one, and I happen to do something which was in line with what person two did, which made person one feel bad. So person one will feel, and obviously it was not even of the same intensity, it was not even of the same seriousness, and sometimes I might not even have done that in the first place. It is what it is what it was 0.01% maybe, or even I'll even go ahead and say this, that the person one felt that I was doing something that person two had done. So then they decide to lash out, and then they decide to say things, do things to me what they had done to person two, which includes silent treatment, insulting, saying rude things. There is this saying in the local language, "Dukta nasivarti हाथ ठेवणे," which means pressure, which literally translates to pressurizing the pain point, which is a idiom for saying something which is already hurtful to you, and you don't really like it when someone says something to that, but then the person in front eventually says or ends up doing exactly that. So it hurts you even more. Yeah, so my point was, if someday I decide to stand up to person one and tell person one that, okay, I have not done this. Why are you saying things this way or doing things this way? Then person one will again take that as a personal attack. Okay, then that will be an entirely different scenario that will form between us. Already, person one is angry, and now that I've decided to stand up to that person, so that person obviously will escalate the situation even further and will talk even more. Yeah, and then obviously the thing that I have said will now be considered as a personal attack, and then that person will obviously feel bad, and then they'll even go deeper into saying things that will hurt me and all that. I really saw one of the situations a few days back. I had there is this 10-day procession going on in the region where I stay, where there is this god Lord Ganesha. So what people do is they bring the idol of Lord Ganesha to their house for 10 days, and then at the end of the 10 days they basically submerge the idol into water, and that is somewhat like saying goodbye to the idol. So I had gone to one of my relatives' place, really. And there was the father, there was the mother, there was the son, and there was his wife. Okay, so obviously, father did something, said something to the mother, and the mother obviously visibly didn't like that, or at least I think she didn't like it, and she didn't really appreciate it. But maybe because the generation, we know how the equation between a husband and wife in the generation of our mothers and fathers is. The wife is obviously lesser, and the man is obviously greater. And under all circumstances, the woman should always submit to the man and not really keep for the things. And if she does, then the man will punish her even more. Anyways, so obviously the woman, the mother didn't say anything back to the father, and even though she didn't really like it. And then basically what the father was doing was he was hurrying things up because maybe he had somewhere to be or someone was gonna come. I don't know, but he was hurrying things up. He was cutting things short, and obviously because things were not going in the pace, by the pace by which the father wanted, he was being really cranky, and the mother obviously wasn't liking that. And then at that point, the son said something that was he kind of he was because the father was hurrying things up, and then the son also obviously to calm down the situation did something to and obviously things at that time were done. Things were hurried and everything was done, and I was there to stay for the night, and I was going to leave the next day. So what really happened? This happened during the. So there are two artis, which artis. Okay, I'm not going to explain what artis are. There are two artis. One takes place in the morning, one takes place at the night. So I went for the night arti, and then I stayed for the night, and then I was going to leave after the morning arti. So during the morning arti, the son did something which was kind of maybe I think he was speaking the arti slightly fastly, wow, slightly faster than what was expected. The mother really enjoyed saying all the artis slowly, and saying all the and what she meant was, when we say arti slowly, that's when we really enjoy the devotion of God, and enjoy being devoted to God, and enjoy those artis and actually mean what we are saying. So the son might have said things quickly, said things in a better way, obviously. And and yeah, so obviously the mother might have related that to the previous day, and then she lashed out on the son for saying things quickly, and then obviously the son uh, you know rebelled to that, saying that I didn't say things quickly in the first place, and kind of pointed out how the mother was wrong, and she felt that he was doing that even though he wasn't. And then maybe the mother also might be having this thing where she doesn't like to be proven wrong, that the son had obviously done. So she became defensive, and then she continued to lash out on the son. And then I could really see the son, quieting down, and not really saying anything, and all those things. So it's really that That incident had happened a few days back, and I wanted to put that forth in that day's podcast, but then I decided not to because I thought that okay, this hasn't happened with me. Why should I do that? And then I spoke about whatever. Yeah, okay. It was the weekend a few days back. I couldn't record in the first place. Correct. If I had recorded, then I might have said about that. Anyways. And yeah, yesterday also I remember that I was kind of pissed at myself. So I was going to lash out about myself, but then I did lash out about myself. But then I came across something which disturbed me to such an extent that I couldn't really form any sentences and say any logical things. And I was really thinking something and saying something. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was saying in the first place. And like any reasonable person would do, I obviously did not review what I had actually said. I deleted that recording and I recorded something entirely new, which was slightly better. That's what I think. So there's that. Now that this is what happens. Now that I've lashed out, now that I've said things, and now that I've really my brain is thinking that okay, now this guy has let out what he thinks and all that. So I've really, oh my god, I've really cleared my mind at this point, and maybe I can think clearly. And I don't know what I'm feeling exactly. Because let's face it, I am a person who is a modern day monk, who's in 100% control of his brain, and who has 100% clarity of thought, and obviously can think straighter than an arrow all the time. So now that I've let it out, I have obviously this. I don't know. Is it my instinct? Is it my behavior? Is it the way I am built? I don't know. But now I'm feeling that it's kind. If everyone simply decides to do tit for tat, and everyone decides to have the feeling of equality, have the feeling of have some feeling, or and okay. So this is what I'm actually trying to say. So when it comes to the relation of let's say parents and the child, I think that the situation is the relation is never fair in the first point, because during the foundational years, again this is a if and then situation. So let's say that in the foundational years, the parents have done their absolute best to raise the child, to give him everything that he wants to the maximum of their ability, have sacrificed a lot of things so that the child can live in a way, live a comfortable life, even if it meant for the parents to sacrifice their own well-being. So that isn't fair. That too isn't fair, right? So that too isn't what you call there too isn't any equality in that place. So for 18-19 years, or let's say up to 22 for that matter, considering that the child does some sort of graduation or post graduation. So up to 22 years, the parents have done things selflessly, and it wasn't fair. There wasn't equality. They weren't getting any returns on that, and it there wasn't even the guarantee that they'll get anything and they'll get anything in return. They could have simply, now modern people might argue that it wasn't their decision to be born in the first place. It was what the parents wanted. Okay, considering that it is still that's still then they could have treated it extremely practically, right? They could have, simply done the bare minimum. They would have given you, okay, so for survival, what is needed? Food is needed. Like if you, let's say they gave birth to you, so it is now their responsibility to make sure that, you, okay, I'm going to put this slightly in an extreme format. Since they created you, it is their responsibility kind of to make sure that you are not uncreated. Okay, or you are not unalive. Okay, so it's their responsibility. So if they have done absolute bare minimum, like let's say the father really hasn't sacrificed anything for you, the mother hasn't really sacrificed anything for the child, and they have done bare minimum things. They've just given you basic food, clothing, and shelter, and then they have done all these. They've basically tried. When you're running, people who run businesses or are dealing with money or are in a managerial position might understand about this. That you know, most of the times, whenever it comes to resources, okay, employees or there might be people working under you. So at that time, you're really what is your objective is to do the bare minimum to optimize the cost and to do things which are absolutely necessary, and like there isn't really any consideration where you know really any consideration where it is thought that okay, what you might actually like. On the other hand, it is thought that which is the most optimal way to manage this resource. So let's say like your parents have given you basic clothing, you know like not really expensive ones, not really the ones which you really liked, haven't given you any toys for your entertainment, haven't really sacrificed a lot of things for you. Then at that point maybe the logic where you say that we didn't ask them to give birth in the first place, then why should we care about them, or all those things might be true. But then if your mother has sacrificed, during the generation of our mother and father, so the father obviously was in charge of earning the bread and butter, and no matter how qualified the mother was, she had to sacrifice her dreams, and she had to, you know, cater to you and do a lot of things which she might have not wanted to do in the first place. So if that's really the scenario, then it's fine. Then but if your mother and your father has done a lot of things, if the father has, in spite of spending his money on himself, hard-earned money on himself, in spite of prioritizing what he wants to do and what he really feels comfortable in spite of doing that, if he does things, sacrifices on his dreams or his needs and caters to yours, if in spite of giving you proper clothing, like in spite of just giving you a bare minimum clothing, like okay, uh, to cover your body, okay, because that's what clothing is meant for. If such basic level things were done, then okay, then fine. But so basically, you get the point what I'm trying to make, and what I'm trying to get at is, after a certain point, your parents will definitely get older. They will be tired mentally and physically, and obviously, those definitely won't be their brightest moments, and those obviously won't be there are moments where there will be any equality or things will be fair. But let's face it, when they were raising you, things weren't fair for them as well. So you were expecting things to be fair, and now that you're all grown up, and now you want that you're gonna be able to enjoy your life, and you want things to be fair now and equal now, and all of a sudden you still want your parents to prioritize things according to you, then that's really unfair. So until and unless something really bad, or something which is absolutely demeaning to you, like obviously you'll start a family and your parents do things that is unfair to the family, that might risk the well-being of that family, until or they do things that will risk the well-being of you in the first place. Until that point, I think everything is kind of fair, and everything is kind of okay and manageable. Yes, I know. In the first part of the video, I was kind of implying, or even if I didn't imply, I was of the mindset that all of this is wrong and this shouldn't happen and things should be fair. And then cut to the second half of the video, towards the end of the video. I am kind of, I have kind of justified how the first part is okay. So what I'm trying to say is, if you need to prioritize your relations, if they are your parents or your wife or your girlfriend who you wish that will become your wife, or she is worthy of becoming your wife, your siblings, and all those things. It is okay to cater to them. It is okay if they are vulnerable and they let out things to you. You should feel that you should be of the opinion at that point that at least somewhere these people are being themselves, and somewhere they are letting things out, and somewhere there, and you yourself have provided that environment where they can really be themselves, and we should be proud of that. So next time, and again there is also this layer of thinking that you can add is, are they letting things out, then maybe at that point, maybe at that time, you have the right to be angry. You have the right to, not let out. You have maybe at that point you can rebel or something like that. But if they are simply being themselves, then you shouldn't think that someone who is acting with them in a toxic manner, when the environment was toxic, then at that point they put up with that environment, and when the environment is not toxic, and if something happens, and then they don't put up with that. Wasn't it your goal where you felt that they shouldn't feel toxic, or wasn't it your goal where the entire point of you deciding to cater their emotions and making them feel needed or wanted, or whatever was your intention when you started it? Wasn't it your intention that whatever they felt in the past they shouldn't feel again? So now when in front of you they are acting in a way, they are acting by the way they should have, and you wanted them to behave in that way, and just because and then they are just being that, so you shouldn't really compare the situation. Like for example, let's speak on the example that I gave just now, the mother and the father. So the mother didn't really lash out or insult her son. The mother was just being herself, and she was just advocating or enforcing things the way she likes. So she is being herself, okay. And given that the environment was non-toxic and the environment was really empowering and nourishing, that is exactly what would have happened. So the mother really did that, right? So the boy, now that I think about it, must have thought that yesterday when father did the same thing, even though it was not the right thing to do. Yesterday when father did the same thing, and when he was trying to hurry up the procession or the arti, he was doing the wrong thing, and due to some reason or the other, the mother kept quiet. But on the second day, since it was a nourishing and a positive environment that the boy must have created, and at that point, the mother was simply enforcing what she always likes, how she prefers the things to be. She didn't lash out, she didn't insult you, she didn't, you know, relate you. She didn't relate the boy to what the father had done. Like for example, if the mother would have said that, you always hurry things up and you always hurry a lot, and I'm not able to do things my way, or the art is not done properly because you do things wrong, even though the son didn't do anything, and it was her saying things what she would have said to the father. And maybe at that time things would be unfair. But then the mother didn't do all that. She just enforced what she always likes and didn't really relate anyone with anybody. And then because the son lashed out on her, that's when she related things. That's when she lashed back out, but it was really the son who had initiated it. And with that, I have reached the office. Was a very meaningful and a serious broadcast, but never mind. No one is as is going to watch it. And now that I've let things out, and now that I've, you know, now that I'm feeling better, and I'm feeling much better, and that is actually the goal of this particular broadcast. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.